Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of eCommerce. Super excited about our guest today, Eagan Heath from Asymmetric Marketing, an amazing digital marketing agency working with businesses on marketing strategy, PPC, paid social, SEO, landing pages, marketing analytics, web design, so many things. Eagan, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, good. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Oh, marketing is the best, right? It's so exciting.
Never a dull moment, right?
Never a dull moment. We just spoke, as a prep, for this episode about once you get experience with one channel, another channel just popping up, right? So it's a never-ending learning curve for being an expert marketeer these days.
Yeah, I think so. I heard at one point years ago when I was in another industry, just a guy said, in a time of change, being a consultant is a good thing to be. So we're going to be in a state of constant change going forward in marketing for the foreseeable future, decades, centuries. So it should be exciting.
Yes, and you see the spike of these fractional CXO like everywhere, right? Like fractional CMO are like in demand all over.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think someone's kind of got to herd the cats or manage everything. Of how does all this play together? There's just so many different ways to reach consumers or reach clients these days that the complexity can boggle the mind. You do need someone steering the ship, I would say.
Yeah. So what do you hear again from customers these days about their marketing challenges?
Yeah, I think the mature platforms are mature. Like it's harder, and so and those are a lot of the channels that we work on. And so SEO, paid search, paid social on say Meta, Facebook, and Instagram. Even email, I think, is not what it once was a couple of years ago. Even so, the things that work have been pushed out of, hey guys, got to get over here, got to be doing this. There's courses on this. There's that, everything. It becomes saturated. And so oftentimes the new opportunities can be in the new channels and things like that. And it's like, if you're a brand, how do you explore those? If you're an agency, how do you take those on? I know you were asking me about TikTok earlier, and it's just like it's as absurd as it is to say, it's just like we haven't touched that very much yet because we're so busy kind of with these older channels. But but it's at some point you do have to jump and switch and learn a new channel because the old ones are so saturated. So in the case of SEO, that was my first channel. That's what I started with. I really started as a local SEO agency owner here in Madison, Wisconsin in the US. And it's like we could get local businesses on page one and then up to those top 3 spots and then to the top spot within months and a year and things like that. And so local's kind of its own thing. And then as we were getting e-commerce clients, we saw, oh boy, this is much harder, obviously national competition or things like that. And now we see the frustrating part is we work with these clients. They were very patient with us. You have to be patient with SEO, right? And we got them to #1 in the US for some of their search phrases, which had perfectly good search volume, perfectly good search intent. But in the interim, Google had pushed the organic results down the page there's just this litany of paid results at the top. Oftentimes, 4 sponsored ads. I think I've even seen 5 once. There can be shopping ads. There can be these new features sometimes on the search engine result page or the SERP where it almost looks like an Amazon page and you can toggle the, I want these sizes of shirt or these brands or these colors or things like that. So the search engine result page has gotten a lot more crowded. It's just gotten so much more competitive. And so even then, if you're doing paid search or you're trying to do Google shopping and things like that, it's just, it's very competitive. What's nice is you may sell a product or you may be in a space where it's slightly less crowded, slightly less competitive, but in general, it's fierce to get to the king of the hill on the organic results. And even when you're #1, we were looking at this one result for a client and it was like very few clicks, very low click-through rate, even though it was perfectly optimized and they were #1 in the US for a phrase, with good volume, good search intent. And just people were not clicking through just as with back in the day on Facebook, you could kind of get in front of people and then they really monetized it. And to be a business, you had to pay to play. Google has basically done the same. So the big players are like that now. And then even when you're paying, it's the CPMs, the CPCs, and everything is just so much harder. So I think those are all the things that are going on. And then on the email side, it's like a lot of us just get a lot of email. And I confess for myself, like I'm not able to get to as many promo emails as I was before. There've been, the iOS 15 update and things like that have sort of raised questions about open rates. So it's the sort of phrase of marketers ruin everything. Once they found something that was working, everybody exploited it. And now some of the platforms, and in some cases, we could even say Gmail, Yahoo, the sorts of email providers that people have are pushing back because their users are unhappy with how saturated things are.
Okay, so on this positive note, thank you so much, Eagan. It was a great episode. No, I totally agree, right? I totally agree. And I searched for something on Google today. It's like the third upper section was like videos, right? All videos, not those short form videos, long form videos. Then you have the Google Shopping, thumbnails, and then you have the sponsored content. This was the first page. There was not even one, organic content out there, right? And it's becoming like a big players game, a lot of budgets, obviously, for SEM, and I guess it's the same on Meta and others. So this is like the foundation of where we are, probably. This is a great, probably, introduction. So what to do? What brands need to do? What business owners, marketing leaders out there? What's working these days, and what do you recommend as from that analysis?
Yeah, I think in many cases it's going back to marketing fundamentals, and that can be a strange move. So I think there's different approaches. There's try the new channels, go on TikTok or whatever the next thing is, right? Influencer marketing, things like that. Whatever's new, it'll be a bluer ocean, right? So I think that's one approach. I think another approach is that I'm sort of recommending that we work with clients on is that marketing fundamentals piece. And so that is, what's the customer persona? Who are we speaking to? What do they care about? How do we understand their psychology? How do we understand how to get their attention when they're scrolling through Instagram? How do we stop the scroll, right? And then once we have someone's attention, how do we keep it? And that's by speaking to their concerns. And that could be, fears, questions, anxieties, goals, dreams, everything about them. Like, we really have to understand that person. So we've got to be able to get their attention, and then we've got to be able to talk about things they care about. And one of the big lessons of copywriting when you study it is that we're not actually here to talk about our thing. Whatever we're selling is in fact an obstacle. It's not a path, it's an obstacle to what they want. And so if we're going on and on about our features, we're not talking about the benefits to them and the meaning to them too.
Yeah.
And so if whatever you're selling is going to improve their life and even improve parts of their life that we have to go another step beyond to understand, of how will this influence their relationships? What will their wife think? What will their kids think? What will their neighbors think? How will they, think of themselves with this thing? That's sort of the deep, almost psychological level we have to go to, I think, to be more effective. Because if you're just doing the same thing everyone else is, your CPMs are just going to go up and up and up. Click-through rates are going to go down. CPCs are going to go up. It's just like it's a downward spiral. So you've got to pull out of that, I think, by really understanding who you're communicating with and what's important to them, and just nailing it on each of those pieces.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, going back to basics, I think it's so important. And you mentioned like describing the product, the feature set, and obviously on the other side, you have the values, probably the emotional purchase type of journey. And I think it's all related to the different cycle of the marketing funnel, right? Are you in consideration? Are you in awareness stage? Are you in decision stage? At some point of time, yes, people want to know about the product features and functionalities and how much and the cost for a different set of capabilities. But at an early stage, when you're just building awareness, probably they're looking for something else, right? So like product, more of the market information, trends, things that are impact them on a completely different level, not related to the product itself. So how do you balance this full marketing funnel? I mean, earned versus owned media, like, type of the email SEO on the organic side, probably, versus, advertising, paid ads on the other hand. What's the approach that you like to take these days?
Yeah, great question. Can I pull up and share a slide I have here?
Sure.
So, and this is, again, going back to basics on marketing fundamentals, copywriting, things like that, right? And I take my team through this. So whether they're going to be working on paid social or SEO or paid search or email marketing or whatever it is, It's like, we got to go back to this and put it all in this picture. So it's sort of with that, if they're top of funnel, their temperature is cold, they may have a problem or an aspiration, but they don't even know what the solution is, right? And then, so one of the examples I sometimes give is, let's say I'm having lower back pain, right? And I want to know, how do I deal with my lower back pain? Now, I could go to a chiropractor, or there's like these inversion tables where you kind of flip nearly upside down and release the tension in your back. Or there's these moon boots that you put on your door frame and then you hang upside down like Batman, right? And there could be yoga, and there could be like all these other different, physical therapy. There could be all these possible solutions to this problem of lower back pain. So I may just know, hey, I got a creak in my lower back, right? But I'm not even sure what I do about that. Okay. So that could be this level. I like to make it concrete. And then middle of funnel, MOFU here, it's like the temperature's warmer. Now I know, okay, I've got yoga, I've got chiropractors, physical therapy, I've got inversion tables and moon boots and all these different things I could be doing, right? But I haven't necessarily picked, maybe I'm considering solutions. Maybe I'm thinking I start with a chiropractor, but I haven't necessarily picked a company yet, right? Or maybe I know I want to get an inversion table in my basement, but I don't know which one's the best or which one I can afford or which one's going to help me the most, right? So we don't know which brand we're going with. We don't know which company, right? Now, once we're in bottom, now it's like, okay, I've really read all about these inversion tables. I'm definitely going to get one, right? And I'm looking down just kind of who are the brands that have inversion tables specifically. Then I might be looking at, pricing, features, does this thing fold up, et cetera, et cetera. Like that's the kind of stuff I might be looking at, right? So any questions or reactions to this?
Yes. What type of content do you recommend to create in each one of those stages?
Yeah, great. I'm going to turn to channel here, and then we can talk content if that's okay.
Sure.
So, and this is often just how I walk my clients through it too. So there's different ways to approach this that you could certainly say I have some missing here, but this is just an idea. So grabbing that temperature's cold, back when I had lower back pain, but I didn't even necessarily know what I could do about it. Channel wise, we're looking at paid social ads. And so certainly that could be TikTok, but that could also just be, meta ads or what have you, right? I think SEO blog posts, there's still a place to educate that way. You could also say a YouTube video here where it's just basically content marketing, right? I think that, as crazy as it sounds, like banner ads might have a place if you can get someone's attention really quickly. And what's interesting about these, then into a lead magnet, let's say, are you suffering from lower back pain? Like learn the 6 solutions that can help or something like that. Things you can try at home or what have. It's like you get their interest in. We're not even talking about our brand. We might not even have our logo, or we're not featuring that prominently. It's literally just, here's a free guide. Here's some more information, right? Podcast. That's what we're doing right now, right? Organic social post, video, things like that. So these are the sorts of things that fall under that in terms of channel wise. And I hope I'm giving some sense of,
yes,
we're not here to talk about us in this phase at all. As we get lower in the funnel, we might talk about our brand, our product, our company, our solution.
And this is important to mention here that we are not, although we use all these channels, we are not promoting our product, we're not promoting our brand. We just provide value and knowledge, right?
That's exactly right. So they have a problem. We're going to talk about the problem. We're going to build curiosity about potential solutions. And in this lead magnet that we're driving them to, say, it's like it could be a free downloadable PDF or a checklist or something like that. We're going to talk about multiple solutions, but we're obviously going to lean it toward, hey, buy one of our inversion tables or something like that, right? So that's a sense of the content. Does that answer it? Or is that kind of what you were thinking?
100%. Very powerful.
That's great. I'll keep going just for kicks here, just to share how I think about this. So middle, MOFU, it's like, then we're into the service or our product page, right? So just to highlight this, informational could be blog posts. There's different kinds of queries people do on Google, right? Sometimes they're looking for information. Sometimes they're looking for a product, right? And so top of funnel is more informational. We're going to answer that with a nice long blog post, right? That answers every potential question they could have about it. And then when they're looking for products or they're looking for solutions, now they're looking for inversion tables. That's our inversion table. It could be our category page or it could be the product page, right? PDP. Google Bing ads, et cetera. Again, Bing seems silly, but it's like in the US, something like 1 in 5 searches on desktop are on Bing. And so depending on your category and who you sell to, don't neglect it. Remarketing ads. I think this is, he said, he asked me initially, what got harder? I think people have seen that, the pixel's not as strong as it was Meta kind of got cut off at the legs by the iOS 14 update, right? And so remarketing has gotten harder, but it still has its place. The lead magnet, there's always time to just educate people about their problems and about your solutions. And so this might be a different lead magnet, but it could still make sense. And then we're getting people on the email list, maybe the SMS list, right? In some cases, some kind of webinar on-demand video is appropriate. Podcast, again, I think could fit in here if it's, talking about a specific thing. And then as we get to the bottom of funnel, so we still have the things above, maybe we're still remarketing and so on, but now is where email marketing can really help us sell, maybe SMS text marketing. Maybe one thing I would add in here is videos and testimonials. So if we're talking videos, anything you say about your own product is great. Can we get some user-generated content? Can we get some UGC and people talking about the product? It's like if someone else is selling your product, that's even better.
Interesting. And what type of content? So it's clear on the top of funnel and bottom of funnel. In terms of the middle of funnel, what are the type of content ideas that you can offer?
Yeah, I think in that case, let's say it's a product page, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, we've got the above the scroll, we've got the visuals, we've got the product, and then we've got different images of said product. So it's like, I need to see what it is, but I kind of need to see it in use. Show me a lifestyles thing, show me like where and when a person would be using it, right? And that needs to look nice. And then ideally, there's user-generated content there as well. And so we're hearing from other people, and it could be TikTok style, Instagram story style video, informal sorts of things where someone's talking about what they love about it or what difference it made for them. That's ideal. So that's just the visuals. And then text-wise, we've got the important information, I would say in the upper right or what have you, if it's on desktop, right? It's like, and we've got social proof up there. So can we show the reviews? Can we really lean into that, right? It's like, here's what it is. People need to be able to tell immediately what it is. What is this thing? And anytime we're adding, variations or things they need to select, we're adding complexity. And there's this whole thing about a confused mind doesn't buy. So as simple as we can make it is good, but we're still emphasizing the benefits to them. Features, I would say, is a little lower, right? And so you can reference features, but anytime you say a feature, then you explain why is that a benefit to them. And there's like this next level of, and what does that mean in their life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going deeper, right?
Yeah. So sometimes the example is, okay, if I'm going, I apologize if people have heard this too many times, but it's like, if I'm going to buy a drill, it's like, I don't just want like the hole in the wall. Like, I don't just care about the drill and how fast does it go and what, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I want to be able to put the shelf on the wall and I want the shelf to stay up. And then that's like kind of giving me my man card and like, my wife's not going to make fun of me because the shelf fell down or it was unlevel or something like that. So it's like, we're just talking about a drill, but now we're like into the social realm of relations and other things. So it's that sort of thing that we kind of want to be suggesting. And so anytime a feature comes out of your mouth, just imagine your prospect is saying, why do I care? Right. So it's always going to that. So I think that's a good way to go. Oftentimes just adding frequently asked questions in there. Obviously we've got that on Amazon pages too. I think it's appropriate on product pages as well. So don't be afraid of it. Scrolls down and there's quite a bit to say on the page. Have the important stuff above the scroll, obviously. And that's the visuals, the UGC, the social proof, the test, the reviews and everything like that. Benefits as much as you can squeeze up there is great, but don't be afraid to scroll down and go on for hundreds of words. And what's great is answering those FAQs. You're feeding that text into Google, and those are all things that could show up on Google and answer questions too. So all else equal, it's like, this has been a big debate in SEO is, does a higher word count help you exactly? And it's sort of this correlation is not causation thing, but all else equal, you have more text on the page that's providing more value, answering more of the prospect's questions and concerns. That's going to help you SEO wise, and it could help you CRO wise to convert.
Yes. Wow. Super, super interesting. I want to talk to you about how AI fits in, but before that, let's talk about the data, which is foundational for everything, obviously, and also the effectiveness of AI. But how do you measure? How do you analyze? How do you get insights of currently what's working, what's not, where things needs to be improved?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's becoming harder, like we said, right? So I think there's a reality that you are triangulating. So let's say you're running, paid social ads. In this case, I'm talking about meta ads, right? We're still looking at what the Metapixel is reporting. And one thing that had been nice historically before iOS 14 and still to some degree today is Facebook knows who you are. And so even if I'm on desktop and then I go, like I'm looking on my phone and I'm looking at something, right? And then I go actually check out on desktop, Facebook, at least, with an asterisk here, was stitching those together decently. And now it's gotten a little harder, right? Google Analytics, GA4, claims to do this, and in some cases does. Like if you're in Chrome, maybe they know it's you. If you're signed into Chrome, if you're signed into Google, maybe it's stitching them together across devices and browsers, and maybe not. And so if someone is visiting multiple times, the reality is it's challenging. Yes. There are tools, I'm sure you guys have probably talked about, Triple Whale and others that are private tools, then paid tools to try to supplement that and get a better understanding of what's happening across multiple sessions, as we would say in Google Analytics, right? So that's all happening. And then one thing that's been interesting is that's kind of given us the numbers. That's the quantitative. I'm finding we used to use Hotjar, and now these days we're using Microsoft Clarity. And give me a visual. Let's see the heat maps of this page. Where are people clicking and scrolling, right? And let's watch some videos of those as well. Let's look at some screen recordings and see how people are using the site. So that's quite a few different things. You're like, how do we measure these results? Yes, we want to see what's return on ad spend, what's cost per acquisition, what's everything look like by channel. But we have to have this big asterisk on every time we're looking at numbers that it's complicated, especially if people are likely to visit the site or the page multiple times before purchasing. If they're doing it on different devices, we understand that the map is not the territory, right? And so we have to look at all these things and take them into account. But I think we're still reporting on the classic numbers, and then we just kind of like have a little asterisk there. And in many cases, those are worst case scenario. There's probably conversions you're getting that Google ads didn't catch, or that Meta ads didn't even take credit for, right? And so by triangulating between the tools, you can sort of land in between and say, where do we think we got on this? Another thing that people do is after purchase survey, of even just on the thank you page, ask, where did you find us? That can be another imperfect way of checking, but just one more piece of data to shore it up.
Nice. And you mentioned this Meta use case or Facebook use case. I hear a lot of things have changed, right? And the Meta advertising algorithms probably, I hear a lot of brands or agencies moving to like open targeting. What do you see is happening on the ads platform?
Yeah, I think it is much more open on the targeting. This is constantly a moving target, but there was a time even years ago where it was like, let's go after their interests, right? Or in some cases it's appropriate to do demographics, age, gender, geographics, things like that. In some cases that makes sense, but much beyond that, it does make sense to leave it fairly open, especially the more data you're getting. So if you're spending a decent amount and you're getting a lot of conversions, you can basically feed that, machine learning really well. And this is to some degree true on Google as well. Google has really been pushing Performance Max and kind of their automated solutions.
Yeah.
And we see it doesn't really work if you don't have a lot of conversions coming through. And that could be at least 50 to 100 a week, and ideally even more. It's like you're spending enough to really feed the machine, in which case open automation often makes sense. What we find with smaller clients or smaller ad spend accounts is it still makes sense to keep some manual control in there. So yes, maybe targeting is broader than it used to be, right? But at least, bidding and things like that, we still are kind of keeping some control on that versus just total trust, especially on the Google side. I found that Google has really pushed and rolled out on their Performance Max automation. And right away, I was just like, okay, you're mixing branded and non-branded search. Like you've got the name of my company in these, and people have never heard of us. Like to me, when we set up a PPC account, we would always separate those because they're going to perform totally differently, right?
Yeah.
Same story, top of funnel versus remarketing, right? Like those are going to perform differently. So I would make those different campaigns. Performance Max, it's all just a mix. And oh, by the way, it can show up on Gmail, display, YouTube, like search, like it's showing these ads everywhere. And it's just kind of this, like, we're starting to get some insight into it. It's not a total black box like it was when they were first pushing it. But I think it's okay to exercise some skepticism. And anytime you're seeing great performance, ask yourself those critical questions, which is just like, is it sort of taking advantage of my brand of someone's just Googling for my brand and it's running an ad, and that ad was a few cents, and now that's making the ROAS look good? I think that's worth thinking through.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So regarding AI and specifically, for SEO or for other general marketing tasks, how do you see this, fits in, and probably, more longer term view that you have for the future?
Yeah. And boy, on some of these things, the horizon on the future is so short because things are changing so fast, we don't really know. And with the caveat that it's anyone's guess, I can share a little bit. I gave a talk about what SEO looks like in the age of AI, and I'll kind of jump to those slides if that's helpful. Does that sound good?
Sure.
So AI changing SEO. Obviously, Google's already had AI for a good while. So like RankBrain and things that go into the algorithm, that's a piece of it. What's interesting is using ChatGPT and other LLMs just for queries. And so is it siphoning off some of those, right? Obviously, blog posts, content creation has just become way faster and cheaper. That's nice. Repurposing content, I think, is getting a lot easier, and I appreciate that. There's some interesting technical SEO uses, and I can talk a little bit about link building too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, next slide here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, Google RankBrain. Just wait, if you ever want to check out Backlinko's guide to Google RankBrain, here you go. But short answer is, yep, they were like AI's been in use for quite a while. It's not just the old, page rank sort of thing. It's like, because Google is the big owner, the big quasi monopoly, or potentially officially a monopoly now, right, on search, they're getting so much data that they use that data to then improve the results over time. So that makes sense, right? What's interesting is ChatGPT and other LLMs, like, is that cutting into Google search usage, right? So this is I gave this presentation a little while ago, but it's like the big fear is, are people going to be asking the LLMs questions rather than Google, right? And what's sort of interesting, again, this is not up to date, I apologize, but it's like, even looking at, if ChatGPT is at a couple billion a day, I'm sure this is much higher now, but it's like, whatever this number is, if this is 3 billion, if Google's at 84 billion, it's just like, it's not, and this is 30 days, so this isn't a month, right? Like, it's still not even close, but is it starting to chip away? We could say, yeah, right? So around this time, it was queries per day, and I'm sure this is much higher. So let's imagine this is 30 or 50 million now. It's still just order of magnitude different.
Order of magnitude,
It's not touching Google search yet, but some of us are using it. Have you, when you're kind of researching a product or a solution, have you been using ChatGPT or anything else like that?
Of course.
Yeah, pretty interesting. What is there a use case that comes to mind, or a way that you've done it?
A lot, right? I mean, definitely on the marketing side, content, but also on R&D. I mean, you just shrink, time to market, like, substantially with just getting, blocks of code also, and like,
right. I was thinking, as a consumer, are you ever looking for something and you research with ChatGPT?
No, I still need to. I know they have launched also the new search, service. I personally didn't, experience that yet, but I know getting a lot of traction out there. Although not as I hear and read, it's not going to influence Google in any other way. But,
right. Yeah, pretty interesting. Yeah. So are you talking about the Google AI results that are at the top of search? Okay. Yeah. So Google's got its own. Just wanted to show an example. This is kind of interesting. So I was out riding my bike, and I was trying to like dictate so I could like basically do an audiobook, or like write a blog post while I was bicycling, because I'm a weirdo, right? And I saw that regular AirPods weren't doing it. It was too much air, right? So it was just like, what's a good, like, here's the thing I'm trying to do, right? So I'm problem aware now. I'm on top of funnel, right? And I just want a way to dictate while I'm on my bike, but I need to cut down on the air. So we'll talk about this. So, okay, ride your bike. Here we go. So you can just use the Voice Memos app. There's a dictation feature, yada, yada, right? Also, you could use Otter AI, Dragon, anywhere. So this is interesting, where it's kind of suggesting, tools that you could pay for, right?
Yes.
And then, hey, could I just dictate to you, ChatGPT? And it's like, well, I can't actually transcribe the audio directly, so maybe that's not the way to go. Okay. And here's the issue. If you can see this at the top, I'm connecting with Apple AirPods, but the audio quality is low. I'm worried about the transcription. Okay, if you're experiencing low audio quality, here you go. Blah, blah, blah. Check it all out. Clean them. Check the battery. Update everything. That's not what I'm talking about. How about a better microphone, right? Okay, now I'm like, I've already got the damn AirPods, but I need something else for this use case, okay? So I'm really trying to get from top of funnel to middle of funnel, okay? here's some windy conditions. Here you go. How about a lavalier mic? How about a shotgun microphone? That, I don't know if that quite makes sense in that situation, but there you go. Handheld microphone, wireless microphone. Okay, now we're getting there, right? Would any of these work while I'm riding a bike, right? Yeah, you could do a lav mic. Here's a specific brand, right? You could do a wireless one. Here's a specific brand that could be suitable for biking. There you go. And by the way, I want some of these like close to the mouth because it could be windy and things like that. Again, here you go. Some feedback on this could be ideal for biking. Here you go. Specific products. There you go. Anything that goes with the helmet. So I apologize if I'm dragging this out, but just like, here you go. And like, we're getting down to, it's got specific types of products and then specific brands within it. And there we go. I'm looking at this one specifically. I think this is the one I ended up getting to. So it's like, okay, now I'm jumping over to Google or I'm looking at Amazon. I'm researching it. Yeah, that could probably do it. By the way, you're going to need a different cable for it. So pretty interesting, right? So just as can you do it? Nope. There you go. All right. So voice memos, does all this work? I'm just checking. It's like there's quite a few, we won't say frequently asked questions, but for this particular use case, it's like I have quite a few questions before I'm ready to move forward and do it, right? So just kind of an interesting example where it's like I'm watching myself as a consumer. I don't know if I'm a normal consumer. Apparently not if I'm trying to, dictate blog posts on my bicycle. But it's like I could envision other people doing this. And you sort of see, even when someone's using your product page, we talked about what should go on the product page, what about frequently asked questions, things like that. This is what someone's thinking. If they were in a physical store, brick and mortar, and someone were to ask them a question, it's like, then you could sell one-to-one. But when you're in e-commerce, you need your pages to sell. You need your listings to sell directly. And so this is the sort of thing you need to be able to do, potentially with a chat bot or live chat or things like that, right? Or just put that right on your product pages. I'll let you respond to this.
Nice. I mean, but you have to go through all this top of funnel, middle funnel, just all the way to reach that level of granularity and recommendations, right? It couldn't be done in any other way, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's also didn't provide you the links, obviously, to Amazon, just saying, okay, you can go to Amazon, you just search for it. And I guess this is probably a temporary issue. This will be resolved, I guess, and there's probably an app you can install just to resolve that for you and make a purchase.
One thing I
mention,
didn't
interesting.
Yeah, sorry. One thing I didn't mention is I was jumping back and forth to YouTube as well to see if other people dealt with this. And of course, there were a couple of very niche videos where someone did it and they made a video and they were like using multiple mics and showing you, and you could hear the sound on each one. So it's ChatGPT didn't get me all the way there, but it was part of my buyer's journey, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, I do have this mic now, and sometimes I record things while I'm biking. So I found a solution and it worked.
Okay. Nice. Thinking about biking, again, I spend a lot of time thinking about work-life balance and try to learn from other people how they unwind and just working in a more natural way or less hectic way. So I'd love to learn from you. What do you do outside of work?
Yeah, thank you. For me, morning routines are really important. So I live by like a beautiful lake and a park. And so just this morning before this, I was like over there meditating, journaling, try to exercise and things like that. So really getting the morning routine right, I think, is just a game changer. I don't know if you found the same thing to be true.
Yes, of course. 100%. Yeah, I do a lot of things outside of work. So really happy, about your routine. It's really nice. Again, any final, sorry.
And I was just going to add, otherwise for me, it's, it's books, it's podcasts, it's playing music, it's hanging out with people and going out to eat and stuff. And it's like, you've got to, I was even just writing my journal today. I'm just like, you always have to have something on the horizon. You got to have something social on the calendar coming up that you're excited about, a trip or a vacation or just a social thing where it's like, we're not just going work, heads down. Like we've got something to look forward to. I think that's huge.
It's nice. And when you spend time doing like other things, you also become much more, I would say, effective in executing your task, right? You just probably know how to prioritize things in a better way, spending more effective time, doing actual work. That's a great benefits of, doing other things and just, removing the clutter and opening your mind for a better and more creativity that comes into play rather than just those repetitive tasks, right?
That's great. I find that counterintuitive.
Okay.
It's like if you need to do better work and more creative work, take some time off, take an extra day off. At least
Yes.
in the US, that's not the culture. And so you sort of have to learn that and experience it for yourself.
Yeah. But I know which guests to invite to the podcast. So just to provide all these great insights. So thank you so much. Again, any final thoughts, tips to marketeers out there?
No, I think just, go back to fundamentals, really learn as much as you can about who you're selling to. And in some cases, customer surveys are an appropriate way to do that, even customer interviews. Even with a couple, you'll learn incredible things. You'll get direct quotes. And oftentimes those direct quotes that it could come from, your product reviews, or it could come from, those interviews or surveys. Put those right in there because that's what people care about. Put that right at the top of your ad or your email subject line or your landing page or, whatever it is. Just really go back to fundamentals and speak to people on the other side because that's ultimately who's going to take the action.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it was really a pleasure. Super interesting. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.